Today is Hanamatsuri or Uesaka. It is a day when we observe the birthday of historical Shakyamuni Buddha. The way we surround the image with flowers. In Japan, this religious holiday began to be celebrated 1300 years ago during the reign of the Empress Suiko, and it is now held widely through the country. Japan is the land of beauty, and its people are lovers of the beautiful. It is not strange, then, that the observance of the Buddha's birthday is marked with flowers and that its more common name, Hanamatsuri, means flower festival. The birthday of the Buddha is usually held on April 8th because it is said that on that day the Buddha was born, a prince named Siddhartha Gautama, in the India Lumbini garden under the Ashoka tree in full bloom. The legend has it that the infant prince, on coming to this earth, took 7 steps and pointing one hand to the heaven and the other one to the earth, exclaimed, "I alone am the most honored one." The words also mean Buddhas or the fully enlightened one. This posture is depicted in the small image of the infant Buddha upon the altar today, which is surrounded by the beautiful flower. Later in the subs, sweet tea will be ladled over the infant statue as an act of devotion to the fully enlightened one. It is on this day that we joyfully remember the birth of the Buddha and his life on earth. We are joyful because his life taught us how we can become enlightened too. We think of his birth and his life on earth like the beautiful unfolding petals of a flower in the warm sunlight. And we honor him by placing a flower on the altar at the foot of the statue. Let us remember his life, the truth he revealed to us. Quite often we forget that the Buddha was born to a wealthy family because we think of the simplicity of his life. Very often we forget that the Shakyamuni Buddha had grown up in a palace under the careful eye of the protecting father. His father wished to shield him from the suffering of life that abounded outside the palace wall. We remember him as the one who found the release from suffering. Instead, yet, it is important that we realize how the Buddha searched for the truth in spite of his father's zeal to keep him ignorant of life. The Buddha himself went secretly to the east of the palace world and saw the common people suffering from hunger. Went to the west of the world and found disease. Went to the north and saw the pain and the loneliness of old age, and went to the south where they observed the death. All around him was suffering. The 35 years old prince decided there was no happiness to be found in the material world, and he sought a way to save himself and others he saw in pain. One day, he left his wife and the child to the comfort of the palace, mounted his white or Kantata and rode off into the surrounding Himalayan mountain. He left home wearing one hat, one robe, and one pair of shoes. He had left the materialistic life of the palace behind him to spend many years in grueling search for the truth about life and for a way to escape its pain. Today, we know the result of his search. We know he experienced one extreme and another without success. He underwent the self-indulgence of some religious sect of time and turned in disgust to the ascetics right. From this too, he emerged disillusioned. Neither of these extremes had released him from pain. Instead, he found the life of the indulgent to be painful in its glorification of the self, and he found the life of the ascetic to be unnecessarily painful in its denial of the self. The young priest had nothing to rely upon but himself. He settled underneath the blooming Bodhi tree in determined meditation was Zazen. He arose enlightened after many years of meditative sitting, and he began to teach the way of moderation. The way of enlightenment found by the Buddha was the true way of moderation. During the years he sat in meditation, he did not deny himself the sustenance that would give him bodily strength, and he slept a moderate amount so that his mind would be clear. His meditation and way of moderation resulted in his seeing the true nature of life and the way of overcome his pain. He explained one morning as the light of dawn made the stars of the night faintly visible. Oh, how beautiful it is! For being endowed with the truth of the Tathagata. The Buddha had seen the truth of life in gazing at the morning star, and he had realized that the true nature of all things. Another translation of his words has him say, I have achieved Buddhahood with all sentient beings. Those who were hitherto unenlightened will also achieve Buddhahood, bringing forth the light of humankind. The Buddha was saying that in all that can be seen with the eye, there is a Buddha nature, and that all is enlightened. However, the world of enlightenment is also hid from the eye, which often sees only the world of material things. The true nature, the Buddha nature, cannot be seen, even though it is not far from view. The Buddha was convinced that those new and enlightened to this truth can know it and bring forth the light of humankind. He found the truth sitting in meditation Zazen, and as soon as he saw the Buddha nature in himself, he was able to see it in others. The Buddha rose to teach his followers to do the same. The way of Buddha is a silent meditation. The Buddha himself entered into the enlightened world while sitting in meditation, and he wished us to find it for ourselves by doing the same zazen. Yet, after he had become enlightened, he did not cease to teach its way among his followers, and was often questioned about his truth. Visakha is an appropriate day to remember one of the most profound answers the Buddha had given his disciples. Do you remember the story of the gathering or Virtue Peak when the Buddha was instructing the multitude? A king of the vicinity sends offers the Buddha and the golden lotus flower, asking him to preach the law. The Buddha, instead of offering a discourse on the law, merely took the beautiful flower and held it aloft, gazing at in silence. This simple gesture imparted the deepest meaning of the law to this king, his king, who later passed it on to other followers. This story is very simple, significant on this day of the festival of a flower, Hanamatsuri. The golden lotus was long been a symbol used in Buddhism, reminding us of the nature of our lives and what we may become. The lotus flower has its root at the bottom of a muddy pond, and it slowly makes its way up through the cloudy waters to the life-giving sunlight above. It is not until its young bud breaks through the water and meets the sunlight that its beautiful, delicate flower blossoms forth. Having its origin in the Dori month, the lotus flower becomes one of the most beautiful seen by men when its long stem finally reaches the warmth of the sun. Human life has been compared to this lotus flower. Man is born into a mortal life. The feeling, the world around him, and the thinking its visible form conform perfect to its ultimate reality. Most men live their lives in this sensual world, suffering the pains of a materialist life, and doing little to brighten their world by enlightening their mind. Without spiritual life, their world lived day by day as a routine of a work, illness, and increasing age. To some, there are enjoyment, but these too are fleeting. Their lives become heavy with monotonous routine and the misfortune of a life that come everyone way in a lifetime. It could be said that this is a mark of a human life. But the Buddha was the living example of the man who can rise above this never ending circle of life and death, of suffering. The beautiful lotus flower is the blossom that emerges in the light of the sun. The enlightened is the man who achieved Buddhahood and brings forth the light of humankind. The golden lotus reminds us of the life which can be had. This is the deep meaning of the law which the Buddha taught in silence to the multitude on the peak. In all, there is a Buddha nature. The Buddha said, all beings are endowed with the truth of the Tathagata. All someday can realize the Buddha nature, which lies deep within and can become enlightened when the right time comes. That right time can be any time if the mind is empty and freed from selfish thought, evil thought. The time of such purity is like the birth of Shakyamuni Buddha. It is the spring of life. It is the meaning of the simple Japanese poem. 年ごとに昨夜吉野の桜花、木を割ってみよう、花のありか。In English, early cherry blossom, Yoshino Mountain. Cherry blossom tree, but try to cut through and see. Where is the flower? This short poem tells us that the flower is there on the branch each year in due time. Every year, the beautiful blossom unfold their delicate petals as the springtime breeze below. But during winter, if one tries to cut the branch to find the seed, it is not to be found. When one mind is not ready, or when it will cut, the dissect and analyze, the flower of the Buddha nature will not appear. But when the spring of life appears and one's heart and mind, the pure Buddha is born. meditation, the Zen, empty the mind, the purified heart. It brings the springtime of life. There's a famous Mondo reported to Suzuki Daisetsu in Columbia University in his book Zen and the Japanese Culture between Gekko, the high government official of the Tang dynasty in China, and the Zen master Nansen, the official quoted a well-known scholar of earlier time to have said, "Heaven and earth and I are of the same root. The 10,000 things and I are of the one substance." He continued and must asked the master Nansen if this were not the most remarkable statement. The Zen master answered him, calling the official's attention to the flowering petals in the garden and said, "People of the world, look at these flowers as if they were in the dream." The Buddha said a similar thing when he says that all beings are endowed with the truth, but that some were, he thought, unenlightened. Yet he had faith they could become enlightened. The Zen Master Nansen felt that the most people do not really know how to look at the flower. They stand away from it. They never grasp the spirit of it. They have no firm hold of it. They are as if dreaming of a flower. Their mind analyze and dissect. There is no grasping the common true nature. Nonsense try to impress upon the official that in heaven and earth, with all the manifold objects between them, issue from the old one root, which you and I also come from, Buddha nature. This root must be firmly seized upon so that there is an actual experience of it. People in the West are familiar with a poem by Tennyson saying almost the same thing. Tennyson wrote, "Little flower, but if I could understand what you are, root and all in all, I wish know what God and man is." Although in Zen, there is no God, we can understand Tennyson's point to say that if this small flower were truly understood, truly grasped, heaven and earth, all of life would be truly comprehended. This is the enlightenment. At the birth of the Buddha, one legend tells us that he declared he was a fully enlightened one. Later in his life, he sought a way that all men might follow to enter his enlightened world with him. In the springtime, the Buddha sat with the pure heart and in empty mind in meditation with Zen under a blooming tree and exclaimed that all the world was beautiful. Let us find this way ourselves by following his example. Let us offer a beautiful flower to the memory of the Buddha today and pour sweetly over the statue of the infant Buddha as an act of devotion. This is a Hanamatsuri. This is the festival of flower. This is the springtime. And for us, it can be the springtime of our life when we too entered into the world of enlightenment.